from dealing with my own mental health, in my own family mental health situations, and it just has really become a huge passion of mine. I've seen and heard so many different stories, as it relates to the stigma around mental health. That's one of the things that we really try to fight, especially when we talk about the Black community. Really making sure that people understand, what mental
Yeah.
health is, how do you feel each and every day. And it's not, there are obviously there's so many different backlashes when it comes to someone saying, hey, they have a mental health condition, because we don't want it to be a situation where, oh, that's an excuse to have, risky behavior, or that's an excuse to go out on a killing spree, or that's an excuse to, just do whatever you want, right? But we do want to make sure that people are educated, especially when it comes to families who are, if you're living in a household, if you have a child, or a loved one that is really, having serious mental health conditions. And when it comes to serious mental health conditions, some of the major conditions that we see today is, bipolar disorder, mostly manic bipolar disorder. You can have bipolar disorder and it's not really manic. It can be like a bipolar 2, or but there are some who are live with bipolar disorder, and they have to be on medication, because if they're not, then it goes to the pretty much the psychotic effects of it, the
Okay.
manic effects. You have schizophrenia. There's people who are living with all of the above. Sometimes, mental health or mental health condition does not just start and end at one condition. Especially depression is one major thing. Obviously, is really what we're prone to hearing about a lot, is depression. And what I would just like to, just kind of just remind everyone is just to really, really, really be accountable for your mental health.
Yes.
Um, Make sure that you are, if you feel, symptoms of depression, because sometimes that's how it's initially starts off, with symptoms of depression. Or if you feel symptoms of certain behavior that you just know, you feel it in your gut. Okay, this behavior, or these thoughts that I'm having, I don't know if it's 100% normal. I don't know if this is something that I should be feeling, or if this is something I should be thinking. If you have just one thought like that, then you need to go and seek help. And when I say seek help, there are tons of therapists, excuse me, whether if you're insured or not insured. There's tons of resources out there who can assist you and can help you understand what you may be dealing with, and how you can cope with it, how you can live with it. There's no cure for a mental health condition. There are
None of them.
coping strategies. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
I was gonna hold you there, Ty. When you said these are mostly adults going through their issues and trying to address what their issues are. How do we address when you're a young person and you may not be able to channel these own issues? One of the things I know as a parent, even with my own son, when I started recognizing there was something wrong and he was a good person, and this is the type of person I was used to, I recognized it immediately that there was a change in his life and I needed to do something about it. So whenever you're a child and you don't know what's going on with you or you don't understand what you're experiencing, how can a parent start identifying these issues with their own children and adolescents?
Well, you just said it. I mean, you know, you know, and you know what is, behavior that you're used to seeing from your child. I think as a parent, it's so challenging, and I've dealt with it as a parent, trying to observe my child's behavior, trying to figure out how can I help him. And it's a lot. It's a lot. But as a parent, you take the responsibility. It is your responsibility to understand and get the help that you need for your child. really start, when your child is young, you really, it's really, really important because children face so much. When you think back to when you were a child and the things that you faced as a child, right? You don't even realize until you're adult. Oh my gosh, I was in my first traumatic experience when I was 5 years old. I didn't know that that was going to be, something that was going to cause me PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder, when I turned 25 or 35 or even 40.
Yeah.
So when you do have that background as well, it kind of helps you, be more relatable to your child, but really just making sure as a parent to have open dialect. For me and my son, like I always wanted to make sure that he was comfortable explaining himself when he had certain, uh, tantrums, so to speak. I would always, start teaching him certain coping strategies, and that is, always breathe. Learning ways to breathe, learning ways to calm some of those instant urges down. It's a lot of practice. It's a lot of repetition,
Yes.
and there's really no right or
Absolutely.
wrong way because everyone is different and every child is different. Every child reacts differently, just like every adult reacts differently, to whether it's medication or whether it's certain strategies. But just as a parent, just making sure that you're listening, you're paying attention. Like you said, you see something. It's almost like that see something, say something type of thing, right? So you see something, you're like, okay, I need to jump on this, because the sooner that you do acknowledge it, the sooner that you do, start to work with your children, um, the better off that it can help them manage as they start to get older. And that is one thing. And one thing that I'm really, we talk about medically, no one wants to be on medication,
Hmm.
and for mental health. I know that I didn't want to be on medication. I was like, I do not want to take no medicine. But
Yeah.
there are medicines out there, and unfortunately, some many needed to survive. Many needed to cope throughout the day. And let's just be clear, like mental health, is a chemical imbalance.
Yeah.
So, it's not, it doesn't mean anything's wrong with you. It just means that, hey, you need a little bit of more assistance with managing your mental state of mind, and you need more assistance with managing your day to day. So when you do start to realize that your child is, acting erratically, or your child is developing certain symptoms that may cause them to really not, is causing them to really maybe not manage their day to day, whether they're always sleeping, whether they always seem to themselves kind of standoffish, or on the other side, maybe they're always kind of just, they have those moments where they're just always just moving too fast. They're just doing certain things and it's erratic. They're really risky. Just it's different signs or different things that you can kind of see,
Tune into.
and really just have a conversation with them and ask them, really kind of dig into it, and then as a parent really start to educate yourself, and then bring your child along within that educational kind of journey to really start to identify and manage
Thank
it.
you, Top Flood. She is speaking about mental health awareness, how it is we can address issues within ourselves as being adults, but also when we start seeing these different behaviors in our children and our adolescents, don't shy away from it. Get the assistance as early as possible. These are one of the things we can do to start to address the mental health situations or things I can use that's causing our children, our children. We'll be right back, Ty. I don't want you to go nowhere. I want you to keep talking because it's very good. And I want you to make sure you share your information where people can get in contact with you if they have any further questions or just even a resource on how to start navigating these issues that may be affecting their children in their own personal lives. Thank y'all for joining to the platform of Hero One Studios. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Top Flood. good.
I'd rather hurt you honestly
What I want to
than
know
mistreat
is,
you with a lie. And who am I to judge you in what you say or do? I'm only just beginning to see the real you. And sometimes when we
it's
touch,
something
the
like
honesty's
I've
too
never,
much,
I don't
and
really
I
use
have
them
to
for this.
close my
I'm
eyes
used,
and
what, something wrong?
hide.
No, 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 no,
I
I just want
wanna
to get
hold you
on
till I
bearings with,
die,
just making sure
till we
people
both
can hear
break
everything.
down and
I'm
cry.
still working on that
I
actually.
wanna hold you till the fear in me subsides. Romance and all its strategy leaves me battling with my pride. But through the insecurity, some tenderness survives. I'm just another rider, still trapped within my truth.
What's wrong with you?
Like a
Oh.
hesitant prize fighter, so trapped
I
within
can't really hear it,
my
but
view.
well, they had me hear
And
it.
sometimes when we touch, the honesty's too much, and I have to close my eyes and hide. I wanna hold you till I die, till we both break down and cry. I wanna hold you till the fear in me subsides. At times I'd like to break you and drive you to your knees. At times I'd like to break through and hold
Seem
you
like they
when
should be.
the
It's just weird. Crocodile.
At times I understand you, and I know how hard you try. I watch while love commands you, and I watch love pass you by. At times I think we're drifters, so searching for a friend, brother or a sister. But then the passion flares again. Sometimes when we touch, the honesty's too much, and I have to close my eyes and hide. I wanna hold you till I die, till we both break down and cry.
Okay, go ahead. We back, we We back, we back, we
We
back.
back.
We are sitting here on the
We are
platform at
sitting
801
here on the
Studios. We are
platform at
addressing how do we stop the
801
violence
Studios.
right here in
We
our
are asking
communities.
stop
And
the
I'm
violence
starting
right here in our
right here
communities,
in
and I'm
North Carolina
starting
in Sampson
right here in North
County,
Carolina in
where a
Sampson
lot of
County,
my young
where a
ones
lot
has
of
been
my
slain to this
young ones
senseless,
has been slain to
senseless
this senseless,
killing that doesn't make
senseless
any sense.
killing
And
that
I'm
doesn't make
trying to
any
address
sense. And I'm
and
trying to
approach
address
the community on
and
how do we
approach
come
the
together
community on how do we come
from
together
all walks of life
from all
and
walks of
what
life,
is needed
and
right
what is
here
needed right
in the
here
city of Clinton
in
and
the
the
city
county
of
of
Clinton and the
Sampson,
county of Sampson,
North Carolina, and how do we
North
get to
Carolina, and how
address
do
some of
we
these
get to
issues that are
address some of
beginning
these
to run
issues that are
rapidly
beginning to
through
run
our
rapidly
community,
through our
where
community,
these
where
youngsters need
these
to learn
youngsters
how
need
to
to learn how
put
to put
these
these
guns
guns
down.
down.
So just
So
before we
just
went
before
into
we
the
went into the
break, I
break,
was on the
I was on
line
the
with
line with
Todd Flood,
Ty Flood,
and Todd Flood
and
have a
Ty
mental
Flood
health
have a mental health
organization to where she
organization
is
to where she is
reaching out to the
reaching
community,
out
bringing
to the
awareness about
community,
mental
bringing
health
awareness
issues.
about mental
And
health issues. And
although the black
although
community
the
love to
black
shy
community
away
love to
from it,
shy away
this is
from it,
one of the things
this
we
is
need
one
to
of the
start
things we need to
addressing
start
so
addressing
our children
so our
can become
children
adolescents, better
can become
adolescents, and better
adolescents
better adolescents and better adults as they walking into society. Me myself, I was a troubled youth. I stayed in trouble. I stayed getting in fights, and I also carried a gun on my waist, just waiting for anything to pop off. And I just know that if it wasn't for my grandmother taking me to counseling and getting to the root of my issues, I'll be locked up in prison or in the grave right now myself. So it's time. Our time is now. We're a generation now. We got to reach back for our young, our youth, and our young adolescents, and just start becoming better citizens in our communities. And each one teach one. I mean, we have to do this together. It's a together thing because even though it's an individual thing that may affect each other's family, it's also a collective as a community because it doesn't just hurt the ones that's directly affected. It's affecting the whole entire community. So this change is needed right now. We have to start doing something. Thank you, Top Flood, for donating on this live and being able to express the concerns of mental health and awareness and how we can start identifying it in our children and our adolescents. So the line is open on Flood. So when you left off, you was just speaking about parents being able to address the concerns that they see in their children and what triggers they can look out for and different behaviors that they can start watching for so they can start helping their child get the help they need so they can be better citizens. That's the basic deal.
Yeah, and you kind of, it always, you kind of nailed as far as it takes a village. It definitely, we hear that all the time. It takes a village to raise a child, to help a child come up. So even if a parent doesn't see certain signs or what have you, a parent should be open to other people seeing certain things and be open to, receiving that support from other
Yeah.
people. I think a lot of times us as parents, we think we know it all about our children, right? We don't want anyone to say that our child has something's wrong with our child or what have you. We don't want to hear bad news, but sometimes you have to hear it from the outside to really be able to see it. That sometimes happens too, and it's okay. I think, a lot of it really starts at home. It really starts with the foundation that you provide for your children, and that is, keeping an eye out on, certain things that they may be going through, being sensitive to their emotions and their feelings, and making them understand and know that they are valid, that they are loved, that they are appreciated. Making sure that your children really know that their mental health matters, that what you're doing for them is far beyond you just being that mom or that dad just telling them what to do. You're doing these things because you love them and you care for them.
Yeah.
And sometimes, I always say, like, you can do as much as you possibly can for your children, and but at the end of the day, it's really up to them to really take that guidance and make the best decisions for themselves as well. And that also comes from them understanding what accountability is. By a certain age, they need to understand that they need to take accountability for their actions and things as
Yeah.
well. And like I said, just kind of circling back to just with dealing with my son. And just like you, when I was growing up, I had a lot of behavioral issues, and I started noticing it in my son, and it was scary. It was scary as hell because, us as parents, we're like, okay, we don't want our children to go through what we went through, right? We don't want our children we want our children to be better than us. We want our children to manage things better than we did. And it really it takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of patience. And when you are a single mom, especially, which a lot of us, there are a lot of single moms that are raising,
Yeah.
raising young boys. I mean, even though my son's father's in the picture, he's in my household. I'm caring for him every single day. My own am responsible for him every single hour of the day. So it's a lot, when you're trying to work hard, trying to take care of yourself, trying to take care of them. It's a lot. So while you are trying to make sure that you're managing and you're helping your child, make sure that you're helping yourself as well as a parent. And there are family counseling services. So you don't have to, your child doesn't have to do it alone. You guys can do it together, because honestly, you're going to have to do it together, because you're going to have to, they're going to have to understand where you're coming from. You're going to have to understand where they're coming from. And you guys are going to have to really work together. Sorry, can you hear me? I got
Yes.
disconnected. You guys are really going to have to work together and really assuring your child, that you guys are working as a team, and in managing what's happening with them. Um, and that's not to say that these children that are committing these particular crimes don't have that family foundation. You can make do it. You can make a lost family somehow. And so the real question is kind of like, what do you do when your child pushes you their way? How do you reel them back in? Because when you are a parent and you feel like you've done 100%, that you put so much in your child, and then they turn around and they they make one major mistake, because they're trying to fit in with the crowd, or they're trying to, impress. You know, you sit back and you try to figure out, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong?
Yeah.
And that's why it's really trying to, it's really making sure your child understands that you guys are a team, your family, and really starting fresh when they're young, starting them off
Absolutely.
young, so that when
Absolutely.
they do grow older, they'll know how to manage, and they'll be in a better, better kind of, they'll have that stability, and kind of knowing.
Thank you, Ty. Um,
So yeah, I mean,
I lost you a little bit right
so
there.
yeah, you can find me at Thai Flood. Can you hear me?
I
I
can now.
can now.
Okay, so yeah, so you can find me at Thai Flood. That's TYIFF as in Frank LOOD, or you can follow the all group. That's THEAWEGROUP Inc. On Facebook or Instagram. Reach out to me if you want to send me a DM. If you're looking for resources in your area, or you need assistance finding certain resources, I can always help. Even if it's not in my area, I can always try to find ways to find other resources or what have you, or find organizations that may support your area. So definitely reach out. Once again, always make sure that you have someone to talk to, that you have someone to support you as a mom, while you are dealing with your child. It's not. It's so important, so important.
Yeah.
Yes,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Thanks
Thanks
again,
again,
Top
Top
Flood. I
Flood. I
appreciate you
appreciate you
calling
calling
in,
in,
sharing your
sharing your
views on
views
mental
on
health
mental health
Thank
awareness.
you.
awareness.
And
And
we'll
we'll
definitely be
definitely be
tapping in
tapping
with
in with
you
you
because the
because the
community
community
here
here
needs
needs
it.
it.
So
So
any
any
resources you can
resources you can
provide,
provide,
I'll be
I'll be
connecting it
connecting
back with
back
you
with
so I
you
can
so I can
share that
share
with the
that with the
community
community
because we got to
because we got to
start doing
start doing
something. And
something.
the
And the
time is
time is
now,
now,
or we
or
just
we
going to
just
lose
gonna
our
lose our
generation of youth.
generation of youth.
So we're right here on the platform on
I totally
801
agree. And yeah,
Studios. We're here on the platform at 801 Studios. We just got finished with talking to Ty Flood. She is a mental health awareness advocate based out of the DMV
The
area.
area,
If there's
if there's
anyone that's right here in Sampson County that have mental health awareness services, please provide that information so we can share it with parents. We can also share it with adults because mental health is always the bottom basis of how we deal with our emotional intelligence. And when you're dealing with uh, issues as a child or as a youth that was never addressed, it's never addressed, it spills over into your childhood. So we want to start preventing some of these measures, getting a handle of some of these situations, so we can start the development of putting these guns down within our own communities, addressing these issues, coming together as a community so we can be a stronger community and so we can have a better, profound foundation for the generation behind us. Like, it's getting crazy. It's getting very hurtful. And like I said, it's just not happening right here in Clinton. It's happening all over. Everywhere that I'm attached to, my loved one or my friends is losing their family members through senseless violence. We can address how uh, police reform. We can address, you know, Black Lives Matter. We can address what society has done to us as a community. But if we know what we know, it's time for us as a community to come together and to begin to start changing and to start healing our community. And the only way we're going to get that done, y'all, is together. All walks of life have to come together. I heard from, other call-ins earlier saying that, we don't have the foundation that we used to have, where our parents and our grandparents came together, where they communicated with one another and they let each other know what was going on with their child whenever we didn't have our eyes on our own children. These are things that we have to get back to, y'all, or we're going to lose our people. We're going to lose our generation. And once we dead and gone, what are our kids going to do? What's going to be the future for our grandchildren? I just became a grandmother. I'm so afraid of his future. I don't know what his future is going to look like. I don't know if,